Hello and welcome to our Bright on Buddhism 2023 wrap-up show. Today we just wanted to talk about some milestones that we have achieved during 2023 and tell you about some of our plans for programming next year. So, Docs, would you like to tell us a couple of our milestones from 2023?
So, first of all, we have over 1,300 minutes of content up on the channel now. That's a whole lot. It feels like.
So I should correct you. That's actually all we've created this year alone. So
that's this year alone?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Okay. No wonder I feel so tired. Cool. All right. We've also surpassed 10,000 plays. So seems like a whole lot for such a niche subject.
That's not something I ever really expected would happen, especially this soon in our production of this show. I mean, I know we've been doing it for quite a while now, but 10,000 plays is just not something I saw on the horizon whenever I came up with this idea and pitched it to you.
Going on with that, episode 1 has been played 250 times, and our top 26 episodes have surpassed 100 plays each.
All wonderful news. I'm glad to see that people are getting into the show and are enjoying it enough to stick with it for a while. I'll talk about these last couple. 92% of our current listeners discovered us this year. Thank you especially to you guys who are listening to us and discovered us in 2023. 31% of our total streams this year came from India. Special thanks to our listeners in India who are consuming all of this stuff. I always imagined that our top locations would be America or Europe or Canada or something like that. I'm very pleasantly surprised to see that people in countries where Buddhism is actually a lot more immediately relevant and has existed and traveled during its history. I'm excited to see that people from there with that context are listening and enjoying. And so thank you in particular to you guys as well. And finally, we are the top podcast for 8 listeners. We're a top 5 podcast for 39 listeners, and we are a top 10 podcast for 57. So for all listeners for whom we are a top podcast, we thank you very, very much, and we appreciate you sticking with the show and listening to us as much as you do. We hope that you stay with us next year because we have a lot of exciting stuff coming along. Docs, would you like to speak to what we've got coming on in 2024?
So the big programming change that we're talking about doing is doing more frequent and shorter sutra episodes. So there are some sutras that are just too long to do in one episode. It is completely infeasible to even think about trying it. And if we are doing things in one episode at a time chunks, those are just locked out because those also we've been doing them after 5 regular episodes. That's over a month. That's long enough for everybody to have forgotten what happened in the last time. So we can't really do series of episodes like that. So to try to fix this problem, we're going to both increase the frequency and decrease the length, specifically for sutras that are long and require one go through them sequentially. Like for things like the Lotus Sutra, we have taken specific chapters that focus on a specific subject and focused in on those. But we skip around when we do that. And for a lot of these sutras, that's not really feasible. So yeah, this is what we've come up with to try to fix it, to try to be able to get these longer sutras in, and we'll see how it goes.
We're going to try this new system in particular up front with the Vajrasekhara Sutra. This is an esoteric sutra wherein one of the 2 most important mandalas of Shingon Buddhism is described and instructed to the audience. But also, we're going to pick up the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Lankavatara Sutra, the Vairocana Abhisambodhi Sutra, and many more. We should mention here that in doing this, we're going to have to skip around certain passages within chapters and also certain chapters in their entirety, which may not be immediately relevant to the topic that we are talking about. However, these chapters that we skip are not going to be completely ignored. In these new, shorter, and more frequent episodes, we are going to provide all necessary context and all necessary summary that you need in order to understand what's going on in the event that we jump over certain passages or certain chapters. In addition to doing these shorter and more frequent sutra episodes, we're also going to continue to make these one-off sutra episodes for shorter sutras, which fit into one single episode, or for sutras that we've already started. These include the Lotus Sutra, which we just mentioned, and also the Vimalakirti Sutra, and others.
We'll be continuing episodes on research projects. We'll be continuing doing koan series, and we'll be doing Asian religions as well. What we're doing is not going to stop. We're just going to be adding these extra sutras to it.
We're also going to try and invite more guests onto the show. We'll continue to have guests on to talk about not only topics within Buddhism, but also topics of interest outside of Buddhism and around what we talk about. And so look forward to that in the new year as well.
We've started that a little bit with Ambrose, but we have more ideas for episodes with him, and we are also interested in finding new guests to talk to. So hopefully next year is going to have a lot of new stuff for us.
In particular, we want to thank you all for sticking with us in 2023 and for surpassing 10,000 plays with us and following along on our 1,300 minutes of content and so on. And we hope to see you next year, and we hope that you continue to listen and enjoy and learn about Buddhism with us.
Indeed. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully next year is good.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.